Dr. Marcus Whitfield was the kind of man Los Angeles respected. He was rich, calm, educated, and known as one of the best brain surgeons in the city. People called his hands blessed because many patients who entered the hospital hopeless came out alive because of him. But behind his fine suits, his quiet smile, and his beautiful home, Marcus carried a secret that had been sleeping for 18 years. That morning in Los Angeles, the Whitfield house was quiet, but it was not peaceful. Dr. Marcus Whitfield, a respected black American brain surgeon, sat at the dining table with a cup of coffee in his hand. His daughter, Naomi Whitfield, walked into the dining room with her school bag hanging from one shoulder. Naomi was a bright little girl, with curious eyes and a soft voice. She usually filled the house with questions, laughter, and songs. But that morning, she was not smiling. Marcus noticed it first. "Princess," he said gently, "why is your face like that? Did something happen at school?" Naomi looked at him for a long moment. Then she asked the question that made his hand freeze around the coffee cup. "Daddy, why don't I know your mother?" Marcus blinked. Naomi continued, "Why don't I know your father? Do I have cousins? Do I have aunties? Do I have uncles?" The room became still. Marcus forced a small smile. "Naomi, you're too young to worry about all that." "I am not too young," she said quickly. "At school, Maya said her grandma is coming for Grandparents' Day. Jordan said his grandpa takes him fishing. Everybody has people from their daddy's side. But me, I don't know anybody." Marcus looked away. "Maybe after school, I'll buy you that dollhouse you wanted," he said, "the big one with the pink roof." Naomi shook her head. "I don't want a dollhouse, Daddy. I want my family." Those words entered Marcus like a knife of truth. Before he could speak, Angela Whitfield entered the dining room. Angela was Marcus's wife, a graceful black American woman with strong faith, a gentle heart, and the kind of patience that had held their marriage together for years. She had heard everything. She stood by the doorway and watched her husband. Marcus did not look like a man who had forgotten his family. He looked like a man who was afraid of remembering them. Naomi's eyes filled with pain. "Daddy, did your family die, or do they not want me?" "Naomi," Marcus said, his voice low. "Then tell me," she pleaded. "Please." Marcus stood up so suddenly that the chair scraped against the floor. "I have to get ready for work," he said. Then he walked away. Naomi stood there, confused and wounded. Angela moved quickly to her daughter and held her close. "It is not your fault, baby," Angela whispered. "Every child deserves to know where they come from." Later that night, after Naomi had fallen asleep, Angela found Marcus standing alone in his study. In his hand was an old photograph. It showed a younger Marcus standing between a tired-looking man and a smiling woman in front of a poor wooden house. Angela had never seen that photo before. "Marcus," she said softly, "who are they?" Marcus closed his eyes. "My parents," he answered. Angela's heart tightened. "Your parents? After all these years, this is how I find out?" Marcus said nothing. Angela stepped closer. Her voice shook, but it was firm. "I have been married to you for over 10 years, and I do not know one person from your family. Not one. I do not know where you came from. I do not know what you are hiding. I cannot continue living like I married a ghost." Marcus turned away. "I was trying to protect you," he said. "No," Angela replied. "You were trying to protect yourself." Silence filled the room. Then Angela said the words that changed everything. "Take us to your people, Marcus. Take us to where you came from, or this marriage cannot continue." Marcus looked at her, and for the first time, Angela saw tears in his eyes, and somewhere deep inside him, the past began to wake up. After Angela gave Marcus that final warning, sleep ran away from him. He lay beside his wife in the dark bedroom, but his eyes stayed open. The house was quiet. Naomi was asleep. Angela had turned her back to him, not because she hated him, but because her heart was tired. Marcus knew that silence. It was the silence of a woman who had waited too long. He turned his face toward the ceiling and closed his eyes. But the moment he closed them, another voice entered his mind. His father's voice. "You ran, Marcus. You ran and left us to suffer." Marcus opened his eyes quickly. His breathing became heavy. "No," he whispered, "not now." But the past did not ask permission before returning. It came with shame. It came with pain. It came with the face of his mother. It came with the grave of his father. By morning, Marcus looked like a man who had fought a war in his sleep. He dressed for work in silence. Angela watched him from the doorway but said nothing. Naomi came running with her backpack, but even her smile was weak. "Daddy," she said softly, "are we still going to meet your family one day?" Marcus looked at her. That question almost broke him. "Yes," he said at last. "Soon." Angela lifted her eyes quickly, but Marcus did not explain. He only picked up his car keys and walked out. On the road to St. Gabriel Medical Center, his mind was not on the street. It was far away, buried in Cedar Hollow, Mississippi. He saw a dusty road. He saw people shouting. He saw himself running. A horn blasted. Marcus slammed on the brakes. A man crossing the street jumped back and shouted, "Hey, watch where you're going!" Marcus gripped the steering wheel. His hands were shaking. "I'm sorry," he whispered, though the man had already walked away. When he finally reached St. Gabriel Medical Center, the world treated him like nothing was wrong. Nurses greeted him. Doctors nodded with respect. Patients' families looked at him with hope. Dr. Marcus Whitfield was not just any doctor. He was known as one of the finest brain surgeons in Los Angeles. People said his hands were blessed. They said if Marcus entered an operating room, hope entered with him. But that morning, their praise only made him feel worse. A young resident doctor named Dr. Caleb Ross hurried toward him in the hallway. Caleb was a hard-working young black doctor who admired Marcus deeply and hoped to become like him one day. "Dr. Whitfield," Caleb said with excitement, "the Henderson family asked for you again. They said nobody touches their father's case unless you are in the room." Marcus forced a smile. "Thank you, Caleb." "You're a miracle worker, sir," Caleb added. Marcus stopped walking. A miracle worker. If only they knew. If only they knew that the man they called a healer had left his own family bleeding. Marcus entered his office and locked the door. He sat behind his desk and stared at his hands. These were the hands that saved lives. These were also the hands that once stole his father's little savings. Before running away like a coward, he covered his face and whispered, "God, give me strength." A few minutes later, Marcus stood up and walked to the office of his supervisor, Dr. Bennett Harris. Dr. Harris was an older black American physician, serious but fair, and he had protected the hospital for many years with discipline and wisdom. "Come in," Dr. Harris said. Marcus stepped inside. "Sir, I need time off." Dr. Harris looked up. "Time off? You?" "Yes, sir. I need 2 weeks." "For what?" Marcus swallowed hard. "I have not visited my hometown in 18 years. I need to go back." Dr. Harris leaned back slowly. "Marcus, the city needs you. This hospital needs you. Your patients need you." "I know," Marcus said, "but I need this." "We cannot spare you for 2 weeks." "Then give me what you can." Dr. Harris studied his face. "What is really going on?" Marcus's voice became low. "Sir, I have saved many lives, but I have never healed my own past." For a long moment, Dr. Harris said nothing. Then he sighed. "1 week, Marcus. That is all I can give you." Marcus nodded. "Thank you, sir." He walked out of the office, took out his phone, and called Angela. She answered quietly. "Marcus?" He closed his eyes. "Pack a bag," he said. "We are going to meet the family I ran away from." After Marcus told Angela to pack a bag, the house changed. Nobody spoke loudly, nobody asked too many questions. Angela packed clothes for herself and Naomi. Marcus packed like a man going to court, not like a man going home. Naomi was the only one who still had a little excitement in her heart. "Mommy," she whispered, "do you think Grandma will hug me?" Angela paused with a folded dress in her hand. She looked toward Marcus, but Marcus was standing by the window, staring outside like he had not heard the question. "I believe she will," Angela said gently. "Grandmothers are made for hugs." Naomi smiled, but Marcus did not. A few hours later, they left Los Angeles behind. The tall buildings, busy roads, and bright city lights slowly disappeared. The journey became quieter. The roads became longer. The houses became smaller. The land became wider. Angela sat beside Marcus in the front seat. Naomi sat in the back, hugging her backpack. For a long time, nobody spoke. Then Naomi leaned forward. "Daddy, what is your hometown called?" Marcus kept his eyes on the road. "Cedar Hollow." "Is it big like Los Angeles?" "No," he said. "It is small." "Will people know you there?" Marcus's jaw tightened. "Yes." Naomi smiled. "Then they will be happy to see you." Marcus did not answer. Angela looked at him. That silence told her more than words. Whatever waited in Cedar Hollow was not joy. It was not celebration. It was something heavy, something old, something dangerous. When the sun began to lower, Marcus saw the old road sign. "Welcome to Cedar Hollow, Mississippi." His fingers tightened around the steering wheel. Angela noticed. "Marcus?" He swallowed hard and whispered, "This is where everything ended for me." Naomi heard him from the back seat. "What ended, Daddy?" Marcus kept driving. Soon they entered the town. Cedar Hollow was small, dry, and quiet. Old houses stood on both sides of the road. Some porches leaned forward like tired old men. Dust covered the roadside. A few stores looked half empty. People sat outside fanning themselves, watching the expensive black car roll in like a stranger wearing fine clothes. Then one man stood. Then a woman came out of a shop. Then more people appeared. They stared. Nobody waved. Nobody smiled. Nobody said, "Welcome home." The town became too quiet. Naomi moved closer to the window. "Daddy, why is everybody looking at us?" Marcus did not answer. Some children ran toward the car, their eyes wide with wonder. "Look at that car!" one little boy shouted. But before they could come close, their mothers rushed forward and pulled them back. "Get away from there!" one woman snapped. Another woman, older and thin, pointed a shaking finger at the car. "Don't touch anything belonging to that man," she said loudly. "That man brought shame here." Angela's heart dropped. Naomi's smile disappeared. "Mommy," Naomi whispered, "what does she mean?" Angela had no answer. Marcus kept driving, but his face had changed. Shame sat on him like a heavy coat. He did not look like the powerful doctor from Los Angeles anymore. He looked like a boy being dragged back to punishment. Then another voice rose from the roadside. "Marcus Whitfield," a man said bitterly. "After all these years, you found the road back?" Angela turned sharply toward Marcus. "Marcus, what did you do?" His lips moved, but no words came out. Marcus drove to the edge of town and stopped before a lonely, broken wooden house. The paint was peeling. The porch looked weak. Weeds covered the yard like nobody had cared for it in years. Then the front door opened. A blind old woman stepped out slowly with a walking stick. A cloth covered her eyes. She lifted her face toward the car and asked, "Who is there?" After the blind old woman stepped onto the weak porch and asked who was there, Marcus could not move. For a moment the whole world became silent. The staring townspeople behind him disappeared. Angela's worried eyes disappeared. Naomi's soft crying disappeared. All Marcus could see was the woman standing before him. Evelyn Whitfield was his mother. Once she had been a gentle, hard-working woman, with a bright smile and a voice full of prayer. Now she stood older, thinner, and blind, with a cloth covering her eyes and a walking stick trembling in her hand. Marcus opened the car door slowly. His legs felt weak. "Mama," he whispered. The old woman froze. Her walking stick stopped tapping the ground. "Who said that?" she asked, her voice shaking. Marcus took one step forward, then another. "Mama," he said again, "it is me." Evelyn's lips began to tremble. "No," she whispered. "No, don't play with an old woman's heart." Marcus broke down. "It is me, Mama. It is Marcus." The walking stick fell from her hand. Evelyn lifted both hands into the air and cried, "Lord, have mercy. Lord, have mercy. Is this my son? Is this my Marcus?" Marcus ran to her and fell on his knees before her. He wrapped his arms around her waist like a little boy who had finally found his way home. "Mama, I am sorry," he cried. "I am sorry." Evelyn touched his head, then his cheeks, then his beard. Her fingers moved slowly over his face as if she was reading the years he had been gone. "My son," she said. "My son is alive." Angela stepped out of the car, holding Naomi's hand. Tears had already filled her eyes. For more than 10 years, she had wanted to know Marcus's family, but she had never imagined this. She had never imagined pain this deep. Marcus lifted his head and looked at the cloth over Evelyn's eyes. "Mama," he asked, his voice broken, "what happened to your eyes?" Evelyn became quiet. Her hand stayed on his face, but her smile faded. "That story is long," she said softly, "and it is full of tears." Marcus shook his head. "No. Tell me now. Who did this to you?" Evelyn did not answer. Angela stepped closer. "Mama Evelyn," she said gently, "my name is Angela. I am Marcus's wife." Evelyn turned her face toward Angela's voice. "His wife?" she whispered. "Yes, ma'am." Evelyn covered her mouth with one hand. "My son has a wife." Then Naomi stepped forward shyly. "And I'm Naomi," she said. "I'm your granddaughter." Evelyn gasped as if heaven had opened above her. "My granddaughter?" she cried. "Marcus, you have a child." Naomi looked up at her. "Yes, Grandma." That one word broke Evelyn completely. She reached out and Naomi ran into her arms. Evelyn held the little girl tightly, rocking her as tears fell under the cloth covering her eyes. "I lived to hear this," Evelyn said. "God, I thank you. I lived to hear my granddaughter call me Grandma." Marcus watched them, and shame burned inside him. He had stolen years from this woman, years of joy, years of family, years of seeing her son become a man. Then Marcus asked the question that had been waiting in his throat. "Mama," he said, "where is Daddy?" Evelyn's body stiffened. The wind moved through the weeds around the broken house. For a long moment she said nothing. Then she reached for Marcus's hand and held it with painful tenderness. "Your father waited for you," she said. "He waited until waiting broke him." After Evelyn said that Samuel had waited until waiting broke him, Marcus could not breathe well. He held his mother's hand, but his mind was no longer standing in front of the broken house. It had gone backward, back to the dusty roads, back to the poor wooden walls, back to the days when he still had a father to obey and a mother to honor. 18 years earlier, Marcus Whitfield was not the respected doctor people praised in Los Angeles. He was a stubborn young man in Cedar Hollow. He lived with his parents, Samuel and Evelyn Whitfield, in that same poor house at the edge of town. Back then, the house was still weak, but it had life inside it. It had smoke from Evelyn's cooking. It had the sound of Samuel's boots returning from the farm. It had prayer in the morning and prayer at night. Samuel Whitfield was Marcus's father, a hard-working black man with rough hands, tired eyes, and a heart that believed dignity was better than riches. He owned a small piece of farmland, and every morning before sunrise, he went there with his tools on his shoulder. Evelyn was the mother who held the family together. She cooked, she washed, she carried water, she prayed, she smiled even when there was not enough food in the house. But Marcus did not see their sacrifice. He only saw poverty. One hot afternoon, Evelyn returned from the well, with a bucket of water balanced in her tired hands. Marcus sat under a tree near the house, shining his shoes and humming like life had no responsibility. "Marcus," Evelyn called softly, "come and help me with this water." Marcus did not move. "Mama, I am busy." Evelyn looked at him. "Busy doing what?" He lifted one shoe and smiled. "I have somewhere to be." "Your mother is struggling with water, and you have somewhere to be?" Marcus sighed loudly. "Mama, I am not a child anymore. I cannot be carrying water around like these village boys." Evelyn's face fell. "So helping your mother is now shame?" Marcus stood up and dusted his shirt. "I was not born to suffer here forever." That evening, Samuel came home from the farm, sweat covering his face. He leaned his hoe against the wall and looked at Marcus. "Tomorrow morning, you are coming with me to the farm." Marcus laughed. "Daddy, farm work is not for me." Samuel's eyes narrowed. "Not for you?" "No," Marcus said boldly. "I was born for a better life. I will not spend my years digging dirt." Samuel stepped closer. "A better life does not begin with laziness. A man who refuses work will beg tomorrow." Marcus rolled his eyes. "You people do not understand modern life. This is a new generation." Evelyn gasped. "Marcus!" But he kept talking. "You and Daddy think suffering is wisdom. I don't want that kind of wisdom." Samuel lifted his hand, not to strike him, but to point at him. "Be careful, boy. Pride can dress like confidence, but it will lead you into disgrace." Marcus turned away. "I am tired of these old sayings." From that day, the whole town began to notice him. He walked through Cedar Hollow with his head high and his ears closed. When elders corrected him, he laughed. When older women warned him, he mocked them behind their backs. When men told him to help his father, he said they were jealous because he had dreams bigger than farming. Soon, people began whispering, "Samuel's boy is becoming wild. He does not respect anybody. He is always following girls around. Evelyn prays, but that boy does not listen." The whispers reached Samuel and Evelyn like stones thrown through a window. One evening, Samuel found Marcus near the roadside, talking and laughing with a group of girls while chores waited at home. Samuel did not shout. He only stood there until Marcus saw him. "Come home," Samuel said. Marcus frowned but followed. When they reached the house, Samuel sat outside and called him near. "My son," Samuel said, his voice heavy, "a child who rejects correction will meet sorrow on the road." Marcus folded his arms. "Here we go again." Samuel looked at him with pain in his eyes. "You think we warn you because we hate you? No. We warn you because we have seen life longer than you. Fire does not stop burning because a young man calls it old-fashioned." Evelyn stood by the doorway with tears in her eyes. "Marcus, please. Change before shame enters this house." But Marcus only shook his head. "You people are afraid of life," he said. "I am not." Then he walked away into the night, and as Samuel watched his son disappear down the dusty road, he whispered, "Lord, help him before he destroys himself." But Marcus did not hear that prayer. He was too busy chasing the very trouble that would one day break them all. After Samuel warned Marcus that sorrow waited on the road of disobedience, Marcus still walked that road with pride in his chest. The next morning, he woke up as if nothing had been said. He did not help Evelyn with water. He did not follow Samuel to the farm. He washed his face, wore his cleanest shirt, and walked into Cedar Hollow with the confidence of a young man who believed consequences were for other people. That day, the town square was full. Women sold vegetables under large umbrellas. Men stood near the barber shop arguing about politics and crops. Children ran around barefoot, laughing in the dust. Cedar Hollow was poor, but it was alive. And that was where Marcus saw her. Tiana Caldwell. Tiana was the only daughter of Mayor Isaiah Caldwell. She was young, beautiful, and carried herself like someone who had been raised behind high walls. Her dresses were always neat. Her hair was always carefully done. People lowered their voices when she passed, not because they hated her, but because they feared the name she carried. Her father, Mayor Isaiah Caldwell, was the most powerful man in Cedar Hollow. He was rich. He owned land, stores, trucks, and many people's loyalty. But he was also feared because he did not forgive easily. When he spoke, people listened. When he was angry, people trembled. Everybody knew one thing. You did not offend Mayor Caldwell, and you certainly did not play with his daughter. But Marcus looked at Tiana and forgot wisdom. She stood beside one of her father's workers, buying fabric from an old woman. When she turned, her eyes met Marcus's eyes for only a moment. That was enough for him. Later that afternoon, Marcus followed the road near the mayor's large house. Compared to the poor wooden homes in Cedar Hollow, the Caldwell house looked like a palace. It had a painted fence, a wide porch, and flowers lining the front yard. Tiana was standing near the gate. Marcus smiled. "You are Tiana Caldwell." She looked at him carefully. "And you are Samuel Whitfield's son. So you know me?" "Everybody knows you," she said. Marcus laughed. "Good things, I hope." Tiana did not smile. "Not always." That should have warned him, but Marcus was not a young man who listened to warning. "I can change what you have heard," he said. Tiana looked toward the house. "You should go. My father does not like people hanging around here." "I am not afraid of your father." Her eyes widened. "Then you are foolish." Maybe she said it to push him away. Maybe she said it because she already knew danger was close. But Marcus only took her fear as a challenge. From that day, Marcus began finding ways to meet her. Sometimes he waited near the road when she returned from the market. Sometimes he passed by the Caldwell fence pretending he had business there. Sometimes he sent small notes through careless friends. At first, Tiana resisted. "Marcus, this is wrong," she told him one evening. "My father will not accept this." "We are grown," Marcus said. "We can make our own choices." "You do not know my father, and you do not know me." Tiana shook her head. "I know enough to know you like trouble." Marcus smiled. "Maybe trouble likes me too." Their secret meetings did not stay secret for long. In a small town, walls had ears, and roads had eyes. A woman selling roasted corn saw them talking near the old church. A young boy saw Marcus waiting behind the mayor's fence. Two girls whispered that Tiana smiled whenever Marcus passed. By evening, the whole town had begun to murmur. "Samuel's son is chasing Mayor Caldwell's daughter. That boy wants to die young. Evelyn had better pray harder." One old man hurried to Samuel's farm and found him bending over the soil. "Samuel," the man said, breathing hard, "control your son before trouble enters your house." Samuel straightened slowly. "What has Marcus done now?" The old man looked around, then lowered his voice. "He is moving around Tiana Caldwell." Samuel's hoe fell from his hand. That night, Samuel and Evelyn waited for Marcus until he returned home. Evelyn's eyes were already red from crying. "Marcus," she pleaded, "leave that girl alone." Samuel's voice was harder. Do you know whose daughter she is? Marcus leaned against the doorway, careless as ever. She is not a child. I am not a child. Samuel stepped forward. You are playing with fire. Evelyn clasped her hands together. My son, please, not this one. Anything else, but not this one. Marcus looked at them both and laughed bitterly. You people fear everybody, he said. That is why you never became anything. Samuel's face changed with pain, but Marcus was already walking away. Behind him, Evelyn cried out, Marcus, come back! He did not, and far across town, inside the Caldwell house, Mayor Isaiah Caldwell had just heard his daughter's name spoken beside Marcus Whitfield's. His face darkened, and trouble began to rise. After Mayor Isaiah Caldwell heard that Marcus Whitfield had been moving around his daughter, the peace of Cedar Hollow began to shake. By the next morning, the rumors had grown legs. At the market, women whispered while arranging tomatoes in baskets. At the barber shop, men lowered their voices when Samuel passed. Even children repeated what they did not fully understand. Marcus and Tiana. Mayor Caldwell's daughter. Samuel's boy has gone too far this time. The words followed Samuel like flies. He tried to continue his farm work, but his hands were weak. Every swing of the hoe felt heavy. Every whisper felt like a warning from heaven. That afternoon, a black truck stopped in front of the Whitfield house. Evelyn was outside washing clothes in a basin. When she saw the truck, her heart jumped. 2 men stepped down. They were not police, but everybody knew them. They worked for Mayor Caldwell. When they came to your house, they did not come with good news. One of the men looked at Evelyn and said, Tell your son to stay away from Miss Tiana. Evelyn wiped her wet hands on her dress. Please, sir. The man raised his hand. No begging, just listen. Mayor Caldwell said if Marcus goes near his daughter again, Samuel's whole house will answer for it. Evelyn's lips began to tremble. The men got back into the truck and drove away, leaving dust behind them like a curse. When Samuel returned from the farm, Evelyn told him everything. He stood still for a long time. Then he sat down slowly on the porch, as if his legs could no longer carry him. I knew it, he whispered. I knew this boy would bring fire to our door. That evening, when Marcus came home, Samuel did not shout at first. He only pointed to the chair. Sit down. Marcus rolled his eyes, but sat. Samuel looked at him with a pain that anger could not hide. Mayor Caldwell sent men here today. Marcus became quiet. Evelyn stepped forward. My son, please listen this time. That man is not someone to play with. Leave Tiana alone. Marcus frowned. So he sent men to threaten us? Samuel hit his hand against the table. This is not about pride. This is about life. This is about our family. I am not afraid of him, Marcus said. You should be, Samuel replied. A wise man knows when danger is standing in front of him. Evelyn knelt beside Marcus and held his hand. Sin can destroy more than one person. It can destroy a whole family. Please, my child, please. For one small moment, Marcus looked at his mother's face. There were tears in her eyes. Her hands were rough from work. Her voice was tired from begging, but pride spoke louder than love. Marcus pulled his hand away. You both are making this bigger than it is. Samuel stood. You will not see that girl again. Marcus stood too. You cannot control me. I am your father, and I am not a child. The room became hot with silence. Evelyn cried, Marcus, do not talk to your father like that. But Marcus was already heading for the door. Samuel shouted, If you walk out now, you are walking towards sorrow. Marcus stopped at the doorway but did not turn around. Then let sorrow come, he said, and he walked out. That night, Tiana waited near the old church, nervous and afraid. When Marcus arrived, She looked over her shoulder again and again. "My father knows," she whispered. "He sent men to your house. Marcus, this has to stop." Marcus tried to smile, but even he felt the danger now. "We will be fine," he said. "No," Tiana said. "You keep saying that, but you do not know him. My father does not warn people twice." "Then stop being afraid." Tiana's eyes filled with tears. "I am afraid because this is no longer just about us." Marcus looked away. He did not want to hear truth. Truth was too heavy. Truth demanded change. But change was the one thing Marcus refused to give. A few weeks later, Tiana sent word for Marcus to meet her behind the abandoned schoolhouse. When he arrived, she was standing alone, shaking. "Tiana, what is it?" he asked. She looked at him with tears running down her face. "Marcus," she whispered, "I am pregnant." After Tiana whispered that she was pregnant, Marcus felt the ground move under his feet. For the first time, pride left his face. He stared at her as if he had not heard well. "What did you say?" he asked. Tiana Caldwell, the mayor's only daughter, stood behind the abandoned schoolhouse with tears on her cheeks. She was no longer the confident girl who used to speak with careful courage. She looked trapped. She looked frightened. She looked like a young woman carrying a burden too heavy for her heart. "I am pregnant," she said again. "Marcus, I am carrying your child." Marcus stepped back. "No," he whispered. "No, Tiana. Are you sure?" Tiana's face twisted in pain. "Do you think I would come here crying if I was not sure?" Marcus rubbed his hands over his head. Okay. We will think of something." Tiana looked at him sharply. "Think of something? Marcus, my father will destroy us." "He will calm down." "He will not calm down," she cried. "You do not know him. You keep acting brave, but you are not the one who has to sleep under his roof." Marcus looked away. That was the truth he did not want to face. Tiana wiped her tears. "You told me we were grown. You told me we could make our own choices. Now what choice will you make?" Marcus opened his mouth, but no answer came. That silence broke Tiana more than any insult. "You are afraid," she said quietly. Marcus turned back to her. "I am thinking." "No, Marcus, you are afraid." Before evening, the secret began to spread. One girl saw Tiana crying near the abandoned schoolhouse. Another person heard whispers from the Caldwell house. By the next morning, Cedar Hollow had swallowed the news and carried it from porch to porch. Tiana Caldwell is pregnant. Marcus Whitfield is responsible. Samuel's son has brought shame. Mayor Caldwell will not let this pass. At the Whitfield house, Evelyn sat with her hands on her head. Samuel stood in the middle of the room like a man who had been struck. Marcus stood near the door, unable to look at either of them. Samuel's voice was low. "Tell me it is not true." Marcus said nothing. Evelyn began to cry. "My son, what have you done?" Samuel stepped closer. "Answer me." Marcus swallowed. "It is true." Samuel closed his eyes. The pain on his face was worse than anger. "I warned you," he said. "Your mother begged you. The elders warned you. Mayor Caldwell warned you. But you listened to your pride." Evelyn reached for Marcus. "Go to them. Go and take responsibility before this becomes worse." Marcus shook his head. "Mayor Caldwell will not listen." Samuel pointed at him. "Then you must still go. A man does not create trouble and hide behind fear." Across town, Mayor Isaiah Caldwell had already heard. Inside his large house, his anger filled every room. Tiana stood before him, trembling. Her mother was dead, so there was no woman in that house who could stand between her and her father's rage. Mayor Caldwell's voice thundered. "That boy," he said, "that poor, disrespectful boy." Tiana sobbed. "Daddy, please. Do not call me, please," he shouted. "You have shamed my name. You have shamed this house." He ordered that Tiana should not leave the house again. "No market, no church, no visitors," he said, "until I decide what to do." From that day, Tiana became a prisoner in her own father's house. She cried behind closed doors. She called Marcus's name in her heart, but Marcus did not come. He was too afraid, too ashamed, too weak to face what he had helped create. Days became weeks. The town kept talking. Samuel walked through Cedar Hollow with his head low. Evelyn prayed every night with tears soaking her face. "Lord," she whispered, "have mercy on our children. Do not let this shame become death." But shame had already entered both houses, and one evening, as dark clouds gathered over Cedar Hollow, a woman ran from the Caldwell house shouting for help. "Tiana is in labor!" she cried. The whole town froze, and fear entered every heart. After the woman ran from the Caldwell house shouting that Tiana was in labor, Cedar Hollow stopped breathing. People came out of their homes. Women left their cooking pots. Men left the barber shop. Children were pulled indoors, because even they could feel that something serious was happening. The Caldwell house, once proud and untouchable, was now full of fear. Inside the house, Mrs. Ruthie Bell, an older village midwife who had helped many women in Cedar Hollow, moved quickly from room to room. She was known for her calm hands and her strong prayers, but that evening even her face looked worried. "Boil water," she told one woman. "Bring clean cloth and pray. Everybody pray." Tiana cried from the room, weak and frightened. "Daddy!" she called. Mayor Isaiah Caldwell stood outside the door like a broken lion. He was a man the whole town feared, but that night fear had entered him too. His money could not stop what was happening. His power could not command peace. His anger could not save his daughter. He turned to one of his men. "Where is Marcus?" The man looked down. "Sir, he is at his father's house." Mayor Caldwell's eyes burned. "That boy did this. That boy brought this shame to my door." Outside, people gathered near the fence. Nobody spoke loudly. They whispered and prayed. At the Whitfield house, Marcus sat on the edge of his bed, shaking. Samuel stood near the doorway, his face hard with disappointment. Evelyn knelt on the floor, praying. "Lord, spare the girl," Evelyn whispered. "Lord, spare the child. Have mercy." Marcus could not sit still. He stood up, then sat down again, then stood up again. Samuel looked at him. "Go there." Marcus shook his head. "No. Go there and stand like a man. Mayor Caldwell will kill me." Samuel's voice trembled with anger. "And what do you think fear will do? Fear will save you? Fear will wash away what you have done?" Marcus covered his ears. "Stop!" Evelyn rose from her knees and touched his arm. "My son, your father is right. Even if you are afraid, go. Tiana should not face this alone." Marcus looked at his mother, but his feet refused to move. At the Caldwell house, the cries became weaker. Then suddenly, the house went quiet. Too quiet. Mrs. Ruthie Bell stepped out of the room slowly. Her hands were shaking. Her eyes were wet. Mayor Caldwell stared at her. "Where is my daughter?" The old midwife could not speak at first. Then she lowered her head. "Mayor," she whispered, "Tiana is gone." For a moment, nobody moved. Then Mayor Caldwell released a cry that shook the whole house. "No!" He pushed past everyone and rushed into the room. The women outside began to weep. The men removed their hats. The whole town heard the news before anyone announced it. Tiana Caldwell was dead. The young woman who had once walked through Cedar Hollow with quiet beauty was gone, and grief fell over the town like a dark cloud. But grief did not stay grief for long. In Mayor Caldwell's heart, grief became rage. He came out of the room with red eyes and a voice full of fire. "Bring me Marcus Whitfield," he said. His men stood straight. Tonight? One asked. Tonight, Mayor Caldwell thundered. Drag him here if you must. He will answer for my daughter. One woman near the back of the crowd heard everything. Her name was Miss Clara Jenkins, a kind but nervous neighbor who had watched Marcus grow up from a little boy. She knew Mayor Caldwell's anger was dangerous. She knew Samuel and Evelyn would suffer if Marcus was taken by those men. So while the crowd cried and whispered, Miss Clara slipped away. She lifted her dress and ran through the dusty road toward the Whitfield house. When she reached the door, she was breathless. "Marcus!" she shouted. "Marcus! Run if you want to live!" Marcus rushed outside. "What happened?" Miss Clara pointed behind her, terrified. "Tiana is dead!" she cried. "And Mayor Caldwell has sent men for you!" Marcus's face turned cold. He stepped back as if death itself had entered the yard. And for the first time in his life, Marcus understood that his pride had become a grave. After Miss Clara Jenkins warned Marcus that Tiana was dead and Mayor Caldwell had sent men for him, the Whitfield house fell into panic. For the first time, Marcus did not talk like a proud young man. He did not laugh. He did not argue. He stood in the yard with his mouth open, his eyes wide, and his whole body shaking. "Tiana is dead?" he whispered. Miss Clara nodded, breathing hard. "Yes, Marcus, and Mayor Caldwell is not thinking like a grieving father anymore. He is thinking like a man who wants someone to pay. You must hide. You must run. His men are already coming." Samuel stepped out of the house. He had heard everything. "No," Samuel said firmly. "He will not run." Marcus turned to him. "Daddy, they will kill me." Samuel's face was full of pain. "Then you should have thought about that before you destroyed that girl's life." "Samuel!" Evelyn cried. But Samuel's heart was breaking, and the truth came out sharp. He walked toward Marcus and grabbed him by the shoulders. "Listen to me, boy. You will go to that man's house. You will kneel. You will ask for forgiveness. You will face what you have done." Marcus shook his head quickly. "No. No, I cannot." "You can," Samuel said, "and you must." Evelyn came between them, tears running down her face. "Marcus, my son, listen to your father. Running will only bring more trouble. If you run today, this trouble will follow you for the rest of your life." Marcus looked from his father to his mother. Their faces were full of fear, but also full of truth, and truth was the one thing Marcus could not carry. Outside, the evening wind blew dust across the yard. Far away, dogs began barking. Then came the sound Marcus feared, a truck engine. Miss Clara looked toward the road. "They are coming." Marcus stepped back. Samuel held out his hand. "Do not move." But fear had already taken control of Marcus's heart. He ran into the house. "Marcus!" Evelyn screamed. Inside, Marcus rushed to the corner where Samuel kept a small wooden box under folded clothes. He had seen his father hide money there many times. It was not much money, but it was Samuel's savings from years of farm work. Money for seeds, money for food, money for emergencies. Marcus opened the box with shaking hands. There were folded bills inside. For one moment he froze. His father's sweat was in that money. His mother's hunger was in that money. Their hope was in that money. But fear whispered louder than conscience. "Take it. Run. Live." Marcus grabbed the money and pushed it into his pocket. Samuel entered and saw him. His face changed. "Marcus," he said slowly, "what are you doing?" Marcus could not look at him. Samuel moved closer. "Tell me you are not stealing from me." "I need it," Marcus whispered. "You need it?" Samuel's voice broke. "You have taken my peace. You have taken your mother's sleep. Now you want to take the little money I have left?" Evelyn came into the room and saw the open box. "My son!" she cried. "Please, do not do this. Do not leave us like this." Marcus backed toward the rear door. I am sorry, he said. Samuel pointed at him, his hand trembling. If you walk out that door, you are not only running from Mayor Caldwell, you are running from your mother, you are running from me, you are running from God. Marcus's eyes filled with tears. I said I am sorry. Sorry is not repentance, Samuel said. Repentance stands and faces truth. The truck stopped outside the house. Men's voices rose in the yard. Where is Marcus? Evelyn grabbed Marcus's arm. Please, my child, stay. We will beg together. We will kneel together. We will face it together. For a second, Marcus looked at her. His mother, the woman who had carried water for him, the woman who had prayed for him, the woman who still believed he could change. Then fear pulled him away. He tore his arm from her hand and ran out the back door. Marcus! Evelyn screamed. Samuel rushed after him, but Marcus was already running through the dark field behind the house. He did not look back, not when his mother cried, not when his father called his name, not when the men reached the front door. He ran like a coward. He ran like a thief. He ran like a son who had chosen himself over the people who loved him. And that is where this first part of the story ends. What a painful journey it has been so far. We met Marcus Whitfield, a man the world respected, but a man whose own family did not truly know him. To the people of Los Angeles, he looked successful, calm, and complete. But inside his home, one simple question from his daughter opened a wound he had been hiding for many years. Naomi only wanted to know where she came from. Angela only wanted honesty from the man she loved. But Marcus had buried his past so deeply that even speaking about family became difficult for him. And when the story took us back to his younger days, we saw how dangerous pride can be. Marcus had parents who loved him, warned him, corrected him, and prayed for him. But he refused to listen. He wanted freedom without wisdom. He wanted love without responsibility. He wanted to live life his own way, without thinking about the pain his choices could bring. The first lesson here is simple. When elders correct us with love, we should not always see it as control. Sometimes their warning is protection. The second lesson is that one wrong decision can open the door to many sorrows. Marcus thought he was only chasing his own happiness, but his actions brought shame, fear, and heartbreak to two families. The third lesson is that running away from the truth does not remove the truth. It only leaves innocent people behind to suffer the consequences. As a creator, I feel this first part is painful, but powerful. It shows us that success means nothing if a person is still hiding from the truth. It also reminds us that every choice has a price, and sometimes the people who pay that price are not the people who made the mistake. Now let me ask you, our wonderful audience, what do you think about Marcus? Was he just young and afraid? Or was he selfish? Do you blame him for running away? What do you think will happen to the parents he left behind? Please drop your thoughts in the comment section. We truly want to hear from you.